Welcome to yet another episode. Breaking down Drive to Survive Season 6. This time it's episode 7. C'est la vie is the title, people. Yes, it's not the greatest title for one Otmar Szafnauer, who is the team principal of Alpine. We've got another Alpine episode because you could tell that it was a lot of unfinished business basically when it came to talking about Alpine. They are a team like no other. The way Netflix seems to portray them, the amount of chaos and mess that took place in this episode, it was something that, as a McLaren fan, I was watching thinking, my goodness, who would want to be an Alpine fan, okay? I feel sorry for all the Alpine supporters in and around town because their team is an absolute clown show, okay? One thing after another. Through no real fault, I don't think, of Otmar Szafnauer, in all fairness to him. I know some people will disagree. Some people will say, listen, he's the team principal. He's responsible for what is taking place. But people, we need to dive into this one again. More pressure this time round on Otmar Szafnauer. This was a case of what's gone wrong with Alpine. Remember I said at the start of the season, actually, I forgot how much pace they actually had, but they were going through some disasters. The pace did not live up to the billing. The car, something was either wrong with the driving, with the drivers themselves, or with the reliability of the car. Okay, there was always something wrong with that Alpine. And so the pressure was mounting on. You had the board, you had the people talking around about, how they were feeling about Otmar Szafnauer. And the more I look at it, he was sort of like on a hiding to nothing, okay, because they were on his case. I wonder if there was a bit of rift in terms of just like the way that they got along with each other. I wonder if there was like some sort of rift there, that maybe there's something there we're not quite seeing, because it just seemed like they didn't get along. It just didn't seem like Otmar, Famine, and Rossi, they didn't get along at all. There was always one thing after another. It was quite a short episode anyway. But we get glimpses of Pierre Gasly. One thing I like about Gasly, he's a world-round sportsman. Okay, he's talking about some of his idols. His idols are like Zinedine Zidane and so on and so forth. Different sports, all French, of course, but different sports. And he's there with Tony Parker. We just get to San Antonio all of a sudden, right? I was thinking, what's going on in San Antonio, Texas? Like, Otmar's not from America. What's the link? What's the connection? But then Gasly's going to watch his mate Tony Parker, who is French, who played for the San Antonio Spurs in basketball in the NBA. And they've gone and watched the game together. They're having a little dialogue with each other during a basketball match about how the season is going and things of that nature. But yeah, it was always good to just see how well-rounded Pierre Gasly is when it comes to the sports. He loves obviously Formula One. He loves racing, but he seems very well-versed. I think he likes the number 10 because of like people like Zidane and people like that, Mbappe and those kind of players. Okay, even though it's in football, he still kind of brings it back together. The drivers, I mean, you kind of feel for them a little bit because they're kind of stuck in this lull, malaise. Everybody knows things are not going great. They want change to happen. They want to see progression of this car. They can't seem to get to grips with what is going wrong with the car. And everybody's asking questions. Everyone's asking what's going on. It's just one of those where nobody has any respect for them, really and truly. And, Alpine is one of those teams where they're a big, big, big organization. Renault is a big, big organization. And you just wonder why they waste so much of their resources, why they waste so much of their talents when it comes down to just the structural like sort of engineering, the kind of putting things into place. They could be such a good team if they actually put everything together in terms of what goes on behind the scenes, because that's mainly where they fail the most. The car is always hit and miss. You never know what kind of car you're going to get with the Alpine year on year. And this was a disaster for them. We get to the part where we get to the British Grand Prix, and it's important for them to be scoring points. And unfortunately, both cars DNF. It's not a great run for Alpine. It's been a hard fought weekend. But both cars DNF'd in the British Grand Prix, and again the pressure mounts on. Famine is looking at the team, and he's sort of like, this is not good. This is not acceptable. And the way kind of the direction of Netflix here is that there is a lot of heat, a lot of fire on Otmar Szafnauer. We're looking at a side of the garage which is not happy with him, it seems, because he's not delivering the results. At the end of the day, as he's the team principal, the buck stops with him. Even Otmar himself names that as well. He also says it as well. So it's not even like, it's not even like he's not aware, or, it's not like he's not unaware of any of this sort of stuff. He's very much fully aware. They are nowhere near the level in terms of just fighting for being serious, being in the top four side, top four team in Formula One, fighting up against the likes of Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. As I said previously in their previous episode, man, this is a team that is just lacked hitting the margin, just sort of hitting the peak. It hasn't done it. It hasn't done its due diligence. It hasn't done its job there. And you even see the speech that Otmar tries to give the team, the drivers, the personnel, people that are working behind the scenes, the mechanics, the engineers, the business administrators, all of them, the people that are there. Otmar's trying to talk to them, trying to give them a motivational speech. And it was like, it was almost cringe, but like, I really like Otmar. He's got this kind of character, that he's got a warmth about him that I really do like. And so hearing him speak the way he does, like, come on, guys, we can do this. Don't give up. You've done really well. And, you kind of, I don't know what it is. When like a Canadian or an American kind of does this kind of speaks this way, I kind of feel pumped. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm taking it in. Let's go. But it just felt like this was falling on deaf ears. It just didn't feel like, and even maybe from Otmar himself, it just didn't feel genuine enough. It felt like, he feels sucker punched a little bit here. Where has he got anything left in the tank? Can he go on any further? That's what it seemed to be. And Otmar's just is up against it really. The board and the people of Alpine seem to like kind of mark their card with him at the minute. And then we move to Hungary. So Silverstone was a disaster. They dress down and they go again in Hungary. And in Hungary, guys, again, double DNF. The luck could not be any worse. The luck absolutely was terrible for them. They couldn't make it work. For whatever reason. They just completely fumbled, completely failed in that. It just goes from bad to worse. And you could just tell that the end was near. And even Claire Williams makes the point of like, you know what, in Formula One, to get two double DNFs in a row, 2 races back to back, like it's unheard of in Formula One. And that is like when you kind of put it into those kind of contexts, like DNFs happen all the time, like left, right, and center. But for your team to have 2 double DNFs in a row, like the amount of points they've lost in those 2 race weekends, like you can say goodbye to top 4. Goodbye to top 4. There is not even a point talking about it, right? You'll do well to get 5th at this rate. That's where they were. That's how their season was. And I think, Hungary, you would think, okay, do you know what? This is now, it's over. Because I think even the teammates had battled each other, and Otmar's trying to get these guys to like. He hasn't done the job to get these 2 to settle down, be teammates. Don't worry about racing each other. Worry about collecting points for the team. And don't get me wrong, it seemed like the Gaslys and Ocons of this world are team players, but they're Formula One drivers at the end of the day. They are race drivers. They will do whatever it takes to take all the points, as much points as they can. So you would think, the writing's on the wall here. There's time to relieve Otmar of his duties, but they do not. Okay, we get to Belgium. We get to the Belgian Grand Prix. Now imagine where we've arrived, maybe the Wednesday or the Thursday. There's media coverage on the Thursday. There's practice on Friday, qualifying on Saturday, race Sunday, and it may have been a sprint weekend. I'm not. In fact, it was because Oscar Piastri won the sprint race, but they didn't want to talk about it in Drive to Survive. You missed out some big things there, Drive to Survive. That's all I got to say about that. But yeah. Thursday we get there, and there's rumors saying that Otmar Szafnauer will be leaving Alpine. Now, bear in mind, he's like you see on this picture in the background here. Where am I putting? Over here, full gear. He's in full Alpine gear, full Alpine attire, at the paddock, ready to get going. And then you see this news breaking. He's there standing with mates and talking to people, and he's sort of like, he's finding out in Belgium that he's no longer the team principal. And the whole paddock is just like, what is the matter with this team? Like, if you're going to relieve him of his duties because you don't think he's performing well, that's not an issue at all. But the manner, the way in which they done it, it was just frightening. I mean, they literally like done it when you're at a race weekend now. It's like, forget all the other things. We're here to collect points. We're here to qualify well. This idea of even worrying about, worrying about where we finish, worrying about the personnel or anything of that nature. That shouldn't even be in the question. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind that this is what is taking place. The whole paddock was making a mockery of them. They were laughing. They were calling it a mystery. They were saying, oh, there's always something going on at Alpine. This team has been a laughing stock, okay? They are being an absolute laughing stock. The paddock doesn't seem to hold this team in high esteem, and that's bad. You know, when your age mates, when your colleagues, your counterparts are treating you like absolute garbage, that's when you know. That's when you know it's time to wrap it up. So yeah, Otmar kind of leaves like before qualifying. He just leaves and he's no longer the team principal. You're just like, wait, what? Like, and you know, Famine comes in and he does his thing. But yeah, they get to Zandvoort. You know, we move along and we get to Zandvoort. It kind of skips onto that. And you know what? For Alpine, in fairness to them, it ends well. Okay, they get on the podium. It's a double points finish for Alpine. They get on the podium as well. And it's what was a disaster. I mean, the episode was an absolute disaster from start to almost finish. Okay, a lot of it. And when you go back, actually go back through the series of Drive to Survive from season 1 up until now, Alpine, Renault, they've been a disaster. They've been a laughing stock in Formula One. They have a few victories here and there in terms of like, when I say victories, no race wins, as in just like kind of small victories, right? But my goodness, you can't help but know that next year's Drive to Survive, there will be a story about the Alpine that we were going to sit here and laugh because they're not serious. This team is not a serious team at the end of the day. But, you know, credit to them. They got the podium in Zandvoort and a double points finish as well. And it's funny because like Zandvoort is nowhere near the end of the season. And spoiler alert, we get nothing else from this team for the rest of the series. So it's kind of like, yeah, here's how they ended their situation, you know, halfway down the season type of thing, or like at least like this the final third of the season. It was just a bizarre and weird episode altogether. You know, Otmar is got, and the way even the relationship between Otmar and Famine at the end when Otmar is leaving, and Famine's like, you know, they're obviously just saying, you know, kind of like, you know, hey, it is what it is type of thing, you know, c'est la vie as it is, right? And sort of like, you know, saying their goodbyes, whatever. And yeah, you know, Famine is like, you know, that's life. And it's almost like that's the line that they used to create this title with. And yeah, it just feels weird. Like, you know, Otmar's not a bad team principal by any stretch. You give him time to be at a team for a long period of time. The thing I feel like he suffered with at the moment, like when he was at Aston Martin, okay, it was the Racing Point before that. It was Force India before that. He was there for a very long time. But when you get like new management in, like a Lawrence Stroll and Otmar Szafnauer was never going to work together. And then at Alpine, a place where there's so much potential, Otmar could really, like, if he gets given the time and given the resources to kind of mold this team to where he thinks he can go, I think he really could have had a good shot at this team. And it's a shame to see him go. It's bizarre that he hasn't been, you know, touted for a gig elsewhere. You know, I look at like the teams like Haas. You know, I look at them kind of teams, maybe even Alfa Romeo. I know they've got a few pieces in place now, you know, with Sauber, you know, moving on to the Audi team. But there's a few teams out there where I just sit there and think, you know what, you know, they could really do something with him. But yeah, what ended in what sort of was a disastrous episode ended well enough, to be fair. A podium in Formula One is nothing to snigger at, and especially if you're Alpine as well, where you don't really get that many podiums. But in fairness, I think they got 3 podiums that season. So fair play to them for everything that they had going wrong about them. The thing is, it just shows you the car was actually there. It's actually a decent car. It's just that it's terrible to put everything together, to put all those pieces together. So yeah, that was a really short episode. And yeah, you know, that was my thoughts on this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about this episode. Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? What have I missed out on that should have been vital to talk about in this episode? Until then, smash a like on this video if you like Formula One content like this, and I'll see you in episode 8. Until then, lights out.